I'm Jennifer, sitting in my office, looking out at the bustling city skyline. I can't help but reflect on the storm that has recently passed. The once familiar boardroom, where I faced the betrayal of my life, now seems like a distant memory. It all started when I sat across from David, my husband of 15 years, and Lily, his so-called business partner. David, from a wealthy family with overbearing parents who always pushed him to succeed, had grown arrogant over the years. Lily, fresh out of business school at 30, was from a middle-class family with ambitious parents who instilled in her a hunger for success. David cleared his throat, his voice dripping with that patronizing tone I loathed. "Jennifer, we've called this meeting because there will be changes in the company's structure. Lily and I have acquired the majority shares, and we're shifting the company's direction." He adjusted his tie, the one I'd given him on our anniversary. I kept my composure, years of experience helping me stay calm. "Is that so? How exactly did you manage that?" I asked, though anger was boiling inside me. Lily smirked, her red, painted lips curving. "Through perfectly legal channels. The shareholders agreed it was time for new leadership. What they didn't know was that I'd seen this coming. I'd noticed the late-night strategy meetings, the suspicious money transfers, and the way they looked at me as if I was already out of the picture. I'd learned the value of patience. I opened my laptop and said, these shares were transferred through offshore accounts in the Bahamas or shell companies in Panama. David's confidence wavered slightly. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said, but his right eye twitched, a tell he'd had since we met at business school. I turned the laptop around, showing a spreadsheet full of transaction records. "Let me refresh your memory." Lily's smirk disappeared. "Where did you get those?" she asked. I closed the laptop. "That's not important. What matters is that I have all the evidence of your embezzlement over the past year." David stood up abruptly. "You're bluffing. You can't prove anything." I reached into my bag and pulled out a thick envelope. "Actually, I can. While you two were planning your takeover, I was building a case." Lily grabbed David's arm. "She's lying." But I wasn't. I'd spent months gathering evidence, working with forensic accountants and private investigators. I continued. "Would you like to know what else I found? Like how you've been funneling construction contracts through Lily's brother's company, or the kickback conversations with board members?" David sank back into his chair, his face pale. "Jennifer, we can talk about this. We're still family." I laughed. "Family? You plot to steal my company, sleep with the CFO, and push me out of the business I built." Lily said, "The board won't believe you. We have their support." I pulled out my phone. I just got off the phone with Robert, our largest investor. He and the other board members are very interested in the documentation I sent this morning. I stood up. "You're both done here. Security is outside. Your access to the company systems has been revoked. David, expect divorce papers this afternoon. Lily, HR will contact you about your termination." As I walked out, I heard their desperate attempts to salvage their plans, but it was too late. Outside the boardroom, I nodded to the security team. I walked to my office, closed the door, and finally let the weight of what had happened sink in. My marriage was over, but I felt a strange sense of relief. The weeks after their removal were filled with damage control. Every day, new deceptions came to light. But I was prepared. I visited each client with documentation of David and Lily's skimming. Robert, our investor, was a great ally. He always knew something was off. The divorce proceedings started quickly. David hired a cut-throat lawyer, Mark. Mark came to our first meeting with a smug look. "My client is willing to be generous. He'll give you the house and a fair settlement in exchange for your company shares." My lawyer, Emily, didn't even look up. "Those shares aren't up for negotiation." Mark pressed, "Mr. Thompson built this company from nothing. You can't keep control after what you've done." I laughed. "What I've done? Exposing fraud and preventing embezzlement? Let me show you something." I pulled out a stack of papers, including bank statements and emails from the past 3 years. Mark paled as he scanned the documents. There was evidence not only of the affair and financial misconduct, but also of a long, term plan to weaken the company and buy shares at low prices. Mark sputtered, "This is blackmail." Emily corrected, "This is evidence for our countersuit. Your client conspired to defraud shareholders and violated SEC regulations." That afternoon, Lily showed up at David's penthouse. "The SEC is investigating us," she shrieked. Their argument lasted hours, and by nightfall, Lily had left. I watched their world crumble from my office. The board called an emergency meeting, and shareholders demanded answers. But I had a reorganization plan in place. However, I noticed a large, untraceable money transfer just before the takeover. One evening, my assistant rushed in with a tablet showing that our competitor, Orion Construction, had won a major government contract we'd been negotiating for months. I immediately called Robert and asked for information on Orion's new investors. It turned out that a holding company in the Bahamas, where the mysterious transfer had landed, was a new silent partner at Orion. David had been playing both sides. I spent a week building a legal case. We sent a cease and desist letter to Orion. Their stock plummeted when it was revealed they'd used our stolen proprietary information. Lily resurfaced and confronted David. She then turned state's evidence. David's world imploded. He was arrested, and Orion backed out of the contract. Under my leadership, our company, Thompson Construction, not only recovered but thrived. We won the government contract legitimately. David took a plea deal and got a 15-year sentence. Lily landed a consulting job on the West Coast. I sold the house and bought a modern apartment. Now, as I lead board meetings in the same room where I face betrayal, I know that true power comes from patience and preparation. The company is doing better than ever, and I've learned that success is the best revenge.